the operation ran pretty perfectly for the Bears. You look at that preseason game against the team like Buffalo, they didn't play their starters. Nonetheless, the Bears came out, they were on time, they had a big drive to open the game, started negative field position, had a holding penalty in it. It didn't matter. It looked like the coach and the quarterback are on the same page. It was just kind of an opposite of what all the reports have been.
It has, and I'll tell you what. I don't know how you could say, what could have worked out any better for Caleb, for the Bears, obviously for Ben Johnson. We talk about the decision making and getting the ball out. Everybody's had all the times. I used to have a timer. Think of this now, for our listeners, on the field. And when we were playing the Reggie Whites and John Randalls, these are guys that, back in that era, and they're all Hall of Fame players for the listeners that aren't familiar with the names, we had to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. And I would have a timer back there, and I remember standing back there with Eric Kramer or Steve Walsh or whoever it was, and the timer would go off at 2.5. And basically we were saying, Tony Wise would say, if you're holding the ball any longer than that, you're going to get hit in the mouth because we can't block them in that. And that's kind of what came out this week. The time of it was gone.
Tempo, timing, rhythm. I also like the first pass they threw, whether it was by coincidence or design, rolling out, moving the pocket.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams on the move is dangerous. Now, can he be accurate? Certainly, if you design plays that well, he can be. But I like the way they started that drive.
I love how they started the game. How about this? Now, this is, Caleb under center.
Yes.
Tailback or the back dotted right behind him. Then they do the roll-out pass, the fake run, and the boot, we call it little boot pass, and then they throw the ball to the number 1 draft pick. I mean, that was a well-scripted play. Give Ben Johnson credit, not just for the play, the execution, but the players that were involved with it. I thought it was a nice, great way to start everything off. It really was.
And just in relation to what you're talking about getting the ball out and all that stuff, you heard Ben Johnson talk after the game about left tackles losing slower. You're going to get beat, but if you can slow down how quickly you get beat, all of a sudden you can survive with different guys playing left tackle, and we're still trying to figure out who that guy is.
Absolutely. No, because, I know we weren't in the I formation on some of those plays. I get that. But the point, and I go back to Troy Aikman's comments last year, I'll try to get Troy on before the Monday night game, but he was just beside himself why we weren't under center. And he's obviously back in the day we were 2 backs, and it was a lot of play action. But his thinking was what we're talking about here was when you are in the I and it's play action, everything, the ball is thrown on timing. 3 steps, 5 steps. The offensive linemen know the ball's coming out in 3 seconds. I don't have to hold them for 5. You know what I mean? Yes. So the timing doesn't just – the quick timing that we saw with Caleb, the design of the plays that Ben had, I mean, it not only helped Caleb, but it helps the receivers. They know when the ball's coming out, and it helps the offensive line knowing the timing of the play. That's something that I think doesn't get talked about much.
Ben Johnson's an innovative play caller, but he's also an old-school football coach. He likes being behind center. He likes relying on the running game and the way it sets up the play action.
In the third quarter, 21 runs and 21 passes. I was kind of keeping track of the balance.
Yes, of course you were.
Of course I was. No, and I think there was one drive where they ran the ball 4, 5, 6 times in a row, So,
and they pitched the shutout. I mean, you got to love the way the defense played. They're very physical on defense this year.
The one thing about the defense that I think is going to be a real positive is they're going to be more aggressive this year. And it wasn't crazy. I think Dennis Allen, was like 25% pressure. Flutes was about 15. But the difference was that for the most part, in the scheme that Flutes ran, you're depending on your front 4 guys to get the pressure. And you're going to be a little more multiple in the back end. Where the defense we got now, we're going to bring more pressure, but it's going to be more man coverage. So now the burden is going to fall on your corners. We got to have good people in the secondary that can cover. But I think this type of defense will cause more turnovers. And I could see us creating turnovers, which is going to give that offense a lot of field position opportunities to score points, I think.
Dave, we heard on the broadcast from Greg Olson, former Bear. He did a great job, I thought, on the game. And he said on the broadcast that he was talking to Ryan Poles, and Ryan Poles told him, and he said, I probably shouldn't say it, but he told us the other night that he thinks that Luther Burton III is going to be a better receiver than DJ Moore or Roma Dunze, that he has a lot of the qualities of those two wide receivers, and he thought the kid was really going to blossom. We've seen him miss a lot of the offseason workouts. All of a sudden, he really shows up as the lights go on. What was your take on his performance?
Yeah, he was probably as of a bright spot as anyone, to be quite honest with you, that other than Caleb, and actually Bajan too. I mean, no one's talking about Bajan, but God, he went in there and he was like a surgeon himself. But Burton is a guy, keep in mind, we go back to the draft, behind the receiver from Arizona, who was a first-round pick, our man Burton was second with yards after the catch of all the receivers in the draft this year. So this guy's had the reputation of, you get the ball in his hands, he's going to make you miss. And the one thing that got my attention, we were talking in the break, is how about him blocking? I mean, when you get a guy that shows that toughness, he's going to make guys miss like DJ Moore. I think he'll go up and get the ball like a Dunze. He just got to put a little bit of weight on. He'll get stronger. But, boy, it's not because of lack of effort. I mean, anytime you see a receiver blocking, I promise you that was one of the plays that Ben Johnson, I promise you, showed the team. Because when you get a receiver doing that, that's a great opportunity to make a point to your entire team.
So you look at your wide receiving core, and you've got Burton, who's had a good preseason after getting a late start to getting on the field. Zaccheaus has been one of the best receivers consistently during practices. DJ Moore is who he is. Roma Dunze, I think there's some pressure on him to perform in year 2, being the 9th overall pick. How do you rank those receivers in terms of favorite receivers or the best options of that core?
I don't want to chew up his name. What's our man that we got from Washington?
Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah, Zaccheaus.
Oz.
Okay, Oz. I called up after that game, I called up a source I have in Washington. And the source told me, we have no idea why we let that guy go. I mean, truly.
You see why.
That was their response.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he did at Washington, how or what, but no, they were not surprised. This person was not surprised. He thought he was a good player, and God, I mean, every time his number's been called, he has showed up, And I saw him back to returning was a punch or kickoffs, so he can do a little bit of the return game.
And what are they doing in Washington? They haven't signed the receiver yet.
Karen,
Yeah, you need him. He's a big reason that Jaden Daniels had the year he had. You lose, Zaccheaus, and now you're
that's why he's holding out.
Well, I don't blame him.
He knows how valuable he is.
But they need to pay him, don't they? They need that together.
And the census down there is he has been I hate to use the word loyal, but he's been all in with Washington from the beginning, and pay the guy and get him in there. Let's go. But I don't know. That's for another talk, I guess, conversation.
Well, I think Caleb Williams has the luxury of having maybe not that one guy who's a top 5 or top 10 receiver, but you have multiple options,
absolutely,
both at the receiving core and the tight ends.
Wow.
They used 2 on the first series, and that's a nice way to use Cole Kmet. And as you pointed out, Colston Loveland is going to be a problem because he's mobile, and he's got very good hands across the middle.
And who used 2 tight ends more than any offense in the NFL last year?
The Lions,
The Detroit Lions. So you're right. The 3 receiver thing, if somebody's banged up, Ben's got no problem going with 2 tight ends and running his offense.
Big Z pointed out that, you call it 12 technique when you got the 2 tight ends with the running back. And that if the Bears want to go 12, they're actually going 11 because the skill set is so versatile for the rookie that he's almost like a wide receiver at tight end. They could actually run a conventional offense as they're running 2 tight end sets.
What was the first thing we said when they drafted him? He's a wide receiver and a tight end body.
That's right.
And I got history of that too. When I was at the Dolphins, okay, and we were playing New England, they had Gronk and Hernandez.
Yes.
And that's now Gronk was a different animal than what we're talking about right now. Maybe these kids will grow into it, but he was a different deal. But Hernandez was almost like a Colson. He was a way undersized tight end. And we would make the decision, game plan, and I would be looking at it, and by down and distance and field position, sometimes we treated him just what we're talking about here. Sometimes we treated Hernandez as a Colson and say, okay, the percentage are they're going to throw it. Let's put a nickel in and play nickel defense, even though it's 2 tight ends. And then what Belichick and them would do was, man, the minute you go nickel, guess what they do? They bring those tight ends in, and now they're in a 2 tight end running set.
Yes.
And you got a nickel back.
Yes.
At a disadvantage.
Yes.
And if you go the other way with a linebacker, then they shred everybody out, and now they got the advantage.
And Loveland is so tall. That creates a mismatch in and of itself with a smaller player. Who has a
nightmare?
A nickel guy that big?
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a matchup nightmare. I mean, and I got, like I say, a lot of experience with it because New England had a very similar situation with their tight ends back then.
Dave, let's talk about defense for a second. This is your expertise area. Dennis Allen, every new coordinator comes in, and I think the mentality is, and sort of the rhetoric, you're going to be more physical. You're going to be more aggressive. They're going to be more attacking. Why and what have you seen to make you feel like why this will be different and this will actually be what Dennis Allen delivers?
I think because they practice that way. I think the scheme makes you maybe more aggressive a little bit because you're bringing pressure. And you're not relying on guys to be better than the guy they're going against and beating them to get to the passer to make a play. When you're bringing pressure, you're going to have more guys in the backfield. You're going to cause more havoc. You're going to have a chance to make some negative plays. You got a chance to, you live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. So you got a chance to give up some big plays also. But for the most part, I think if you know what you're doing, which Dennis does, I think it can make you more aggressive. I used to sometimes, if the game started off a little flat back in the day, I would dial up a blitz, even though I really didn't want to, but just to kind of get the energy going. You know what I mean? Bring some guys, knowing that somebody was going to get knocked on their can and try to get a little bit of energy going.
Football Talk on the Score is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. They've got a lot of injuries at different spots, right? Now you had 2 defensive ends go out in the same game. We don't know. We haven't had an update on what those injuries are. I don't know how serious they are. We know that they did lose a corner in that game, and the secondary's kind of beaten up. We did see Jalen Johnson perform before the game, Dave. He just did like a workout on his own. First time that we've seen him running and on the field. That's good news. They say he'll be back for the start of the season. And obviously, Kyler Gordon is dealing with a hamstring. When you look at the injuries at running back, the injuries in the secondary, and kind of what's going on in terms of just getting ready for the season, are you more concerned about the secondary than the running backs? Does it matter which area is healthier quicker? What is your take on that?
I would be concerned. I'll be interested to see. And I know Caleb's going to play this week. I know Mahomes is going to play.
Yeah.
Kansas City's going to play their starters. I think Ben has at least insinuated that we're going to play our starters.
Yes.
The running back, it's going to be running back by committee. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I thought the two kids that came in and the veteran guys that came in and played last week, I thought they did a good job. Obviously they got to have to make a decision with Roschon and with Kyle Monungai. I know that. And what's his name? Swift is going to be here. It's going to be running back by committee. That's what it's going to be. Whoever gets the hot hand will probably get the ball. The secondary is the thing, boy. I would be real. If I'm Dennis Allen, I'm nervous. I am nervous because this scheme of defense with more man coverage, you got to have good DBs, and that's you got to get our starters.
What makes you cautious, Tyreek Stevenson?
And losing Terrell Smith.
Because obviously
it
puts more pressure on Tyreek Stevenson.
Yeah, is
he capable in year 3 of handling the responsibility that he now faces?
Boy, I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say yes because I'm probably a Miami guy and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Dustin, they play Notre Dame, in that opening week.
Yeah, we'll have to get a little coffee bet on that one.
Leave your money on the table, Dustin. Okay.
I don't know, Dave.
A little Catholics versus Convicts T-shirt.
I don't know, Dave. Irish looking tough.
Irish don't have a quarterback. Does Miami have one? I think he's playing in the league.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll get another week to kind of brew on it. We'll finalize that next Tuesday.
Yeah.
But
do your research.
Yeah, but my point is that. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes because I'm going to be optimistic and say that he's grown up some. And it's not about ability. It's just that the ups and downs of a game, you make a play, you get beat on one. At that position, there's not a position maybe other than quarterback on the football field that you cannot take the last play, as Michael Jordan used to say, don't take the last shot to the other end of the court. It's a new game every time you go up and down the court. And that's how it is with defensive backs.
Someone told me that they made a specific point of telling everybody, no fights, don't mix it up at all against Miami.
Then what happened?
And then the game the practice started, and he pokes a guy in the eye.
He's in the middle of it.
Just what are you doing?
Oh, come on! He would have been good with our convicts and Catholics.
Well, speaking of that,
he'd have been a star.
Not convicts and Catholics, but the '90s. Dave, what do you want people to know about, or what should we know about America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, the Netflix docuseries that just dropped today?
Well, I'll tell you this, that there's no regard for defense. I mean, that's the first thing I'll tell you.
Wow.
And now, what's that old expression? Offense. Jimmy called me and says, hey, Dave, he says, he watched a little premiere of it or something. He says, you're going to be upset. I said, no, why am I? He says, well, your players, didn't get any loving, and he says, how good, weren't we pretty good on defense? I said, we were number 1 in defense, number one total, number 1 stopping a run, number 1 third down, and number 4 in passing. Yeah, we were pretty damn good. And he started laughing, and he said, no, it's Troy, Michael, and Emmett and Jerry's story. And so I don't know. I have not seen it, but
you were interviewed for a very long period of time.
I spent a day with them, and then Jerry had the final read. He really did.
Oh, really?
And Jimmy said that. When we were going in, I said to Jimmy, because he went in the day before me, and I said, how deep you want to go on this stuff? And he says, I'm going real deep. He said, but don't worry about it because Jerry's got the final read, and I don't know what's going to come out of it. So I have not seen it. I don't know. Apparently,
I read a thing yesterday that Jimmy reveals that you guys lost the game and he wouldn't let anyone eat on the airplane. Did that include coaches?
No. We were back in those days. We were on a liquid diet. We were in our 30s and silly, yeah. But no, and it's funny because Jimmy was irate about the Herschel thing. And come on, move. Jerry. I don't know how it's going to be played out in that thing, but he couldn't quit talking about it. And he said to me, like in halfway, he says, Dave, didn't you tell him about the Herschel thing? When I said, I told him exactly what happened on the Herschel thing, Jimmy. I don't know if they listened to me. Probably, obviously not. They don't care what I said. They're going to listen to Jerry. He's the one
something
writing
that's
the check.
titled "The Gambler and His Cowboys," and Jerry Jones has the right of final refusal. It tells you the way that story is going to be slanted.
All I'm going to tell you is when I was done with my deal, and I said to the Netflix guys, I said, well, where are you going from there? And they said, well, we're flying right to L.A., and we're meeting with Rupert Murdoch, Fox, because of the TV. And then we're flying up to Oregon and sitting down with Phil Knight, because I didn't realize this. Jerry Jones put together negotiated the first Nike contract way back when the whole NFL started wearing Nike gear. So, you know, there's a reason that the guy's pretty powerful in the NFL. You got to give him credit for that.
What's he doing with his team?
Yeah. Did you watch the preseason game last night and see Joe Burrow running for his life? Does that give you any pause in what to do with the Bears on Friday night in Kansas City? Do you think that seeing Joe Burrow and then Jay Daniels dodging tackles running into the end zone?
Yeah.
I like the idea of both of quarterbacks playing, and I think Andy Reid talked about it, but I see that last night. I can understand the concerns as well.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with and more teams are playing their starters now than I
Seems
think
like
in
it's
the past.
back.
It is a little bit. I mean, there's less games, obviously.
Yeah,
and
it's only 3.
In Cincinnati's problem is they started so slow, I guess, that Burrow hasn't played in the past. So they're looking at the other way and saying, let's get him out there and get some reps and get him banged around, which he did a little bit, and go from there. So I don't know. I mean, it's back in the day, there was never a question. You know, we all know how, heck, we played the entire game, our third game, and not much the fourth, but it was always a quarter. It was standard. Everybody in the league did it the same way. It was kind of funny. The first preseason game, all your starters played a quarter. The second preseason game, all your starters played a half. And then the third, they played most of the game.
And then the fourth, you wouldn't see sign of anyone.
No. Fourth was off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you think that Ryan Poles scans the waiver wire after first cuts to add something to the Bears roster they don't currently have?
I would think the only position might be defensive back. I mean, that's the only thing I see.
They might have to make a deal. They don't have the high draft pick status that they had in previous years. It's not like, they're going to be able to just claim anybody. True. They're going to have to maybe cut a deal if they find out someone's getting cut and give up a late round pick for a player.
Yeah, I mean, running back, I don't know. I mean, the way Ben did it, think about what he did at Chicago, guys. It was kind of running back by committee. I mean, he would rotate Montgomery and...
But those two guys are more than a committee. Those two guys are like a 1-2 punch.
But there's not going to be anybody like that out there. There won't be. You might get a backup corner that's got some veteran experience, that can help you a little bit, but... what you see is what you get right now. And the same thing at left tackle. I mean, I think we'll be fine at left tackle. Mm-hmm. We just got to work through it. With this type of offense, you're not going to have to block them real long.
That's kind of what he said, too. Yeah. It's interesting.
In time, on time. Great stuff,
Dave, thanks a ton.
All right, guys.
Seeing you.